What's up, people? John here from JJSC Tech, and I'm here with another episode of the Cinematographer's Corner. Now, this is the podcast where we talk about everything to do with cameras, cinematography, lighting, sound, everything to get you on track to create your own like short film, do your documentary, or even do like corporate interviews, even streaming and podcasts. You can learn everything you need to know right here. And I'm here with my ride and die, the one and only Kev. What's up, Kev? My man just putting on his headphones right now. Yes, sir. Those are some good headphones. Can you hear me? Kev, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. What's up, man? How you doing? How's life, man?
Not bad, man. Can I say that I kind of miss doing this, man?
Yeah, it's been too long.
Would it be okay to say that?
Yeah, it's okay, man. It's been way too long. Yeah, we need to do it more often and more frequent because there's a lot of topics, man. There's a lot of topics.
Yeah, I know, and there's a lot of topics for us to discuss. That's the thing, and we need to get to it. So once again, we're apologizing again for the long break, but I know it's not going to happen again. I could almost be 100% sure this time that it's not going to happen again.
True. 100% true. So today, what topic we got? We have, it's 2024 now.
I'm excited. I gotta say that.
So it's 2024 now. And with the technological advances of many cameras, many camera companies, many brands and what they're doing, it posed the question, do you need a full-fledged cinema camera in 2024? It's a crazy question.
As crazy as it might sound, I do think it's a very good question. It's actually a very, very good question. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak on this first. How about that?
All right. So this question for me can be summarized in one word. It depends. It depends on what you are doing. For the majority of stuff, If you're doing weddings, if you're doing run and gun documentaries and etc., having a cinema camera like a Sony Venice or Arri Alexa or even a Red, it doesn't make any sense. Cameras like Sony is dominating when it comes to run and gun because the autofocus is just so good. It's number one. If you're a Canon guy, and I'm a Canon guy, I have Canon lenses, I have Canon cameras. I love Canon. But if you are saying that Canon has better autofocus, you're playing yourself. Sony is second to none, and they're pretty far. So yeah, I would say it just depends on what you're going for. What you got, Kev?
So, can you clearly say that nowadays cameras are made for special things? Meaning, like you can't just have a camera for that does it all. You kind of have to have a camera for a specific purpose. So
Yes.
let's say you're a wedding filmmaker. You're not gonna go buy a camera that you would use in a cinema in a movie situation, like filming a movie at all. So now I guess we're to the point now where we have cameras for specific jobs, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, when it comes to brands, that's where I think it's just your preference. But knowing what this camera can do, and having the understanding that if I go with this camera, these are my shortcomings or these are my advantages, right? Because
Right.
there hasn't been a camera that does it all yet. I mean, we're waiting on this camera. We're all waiting on it. That one camera that will do everything, right?
That's true. I don't think they'll ever make that camera because one, I don't think they can make that camera. I really don't think they can make that camera because one, it's going to be really expensive. Two, it has to be really small. Three, it has to have a really good color science like Arri Alexa. And four, it has to have really good low light capability like Sony. It's a tall order.
Yeah, one day. I say that because I actually want it to happen. I kind of want that one camera that you could pull out and do. But I have to admit, man, I feel like the FX3 comes pretty close to doing it, man. Like we've seen the FX3 been used in like cinema movies. We've seen wedding filmmakers using it. We've seen vloggers using it. It comes pretty close to doing almost everything. And you could even have it this small and then rig it out to about this big. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say if you start small, you could always increase. But if you big already in cameras, there's no way you're gonna come down. So the advantage now would be is if you're a small form, and then you want to add things onto it. Like you get where I'm coming from?
I get you 100%. But here's my shortcomings. Here's a few shortcomings that the FX3 has. It doesn't have an SDI because I'm coming at the angle of a production set. So with a production set, you got your first, second AC, and you have, some people might argue you don't need a first and second AC if you have the wonderful autofocus like Sony has. But the heavy pushback would be you can only use like G Master lenses or things of that nature to get a really good autofocus. If you throw a cinema lens, which is far beyond any photo lens, you can't use any autofocus. So you still need that first and second AC. And not only that, they help you with setting up the camera, putting different lenses that you may need. So the camera operator just has to worry about camera operating. Two, they also help to change settings. So the camera operator's job is only camera operating. The reason you have so many people on set is time is the most valuable thing. 100%. Because if you're shooting something, a big shoot that is lasting 10 days and you go over by a half a day, that's costing tons of money because you got to pay everybody. So that's why you need a good team, and everyone needs to do their part properly and professionally, so you can get the job done in a certain amount of time. And the other thing I have with the FX is the reason SDI is so important is because when you're on a set and the camera's many people is touching the camera and etc., someone is going to pull something, and when that signal is gone, the director is probably going to have a fit, the producer is going to have a fit that they can't see anything. You don't want those type of problems on set. So
absolutely.
so it needs to be rock solid, and if it's exchanging hands, it might drop. It might drop. That I know you don't want it to drop, but that's where cinema cameras come in, and that's why most of them are like aluminum and etc., so they can withstand those type of tumbles and etc. So it's just a few things that it would need, you know.
Gotcha. All right. I think I'm spoiled. I listen, man. Call it what you want, but I like autofocus. I think if you really take your time to learn Sony's autofocusing system, like you could do a lot of things that you could do with a focus puller. Like I've seen, like, I don't rely on it so much, but I just like having it when I need it. And I've seen people make some amazing videos using autofocus. And you would think like, hey, did they have someone pulling this focus? And I would now think to myself, why am I going to hire someone to pull focus and all of that when my camera has an autofocusing system that not only just has one, John, has one that is reliable.
The best one.
Yeah.
So I don't dispute that whatsoever. Autofocus on Sony is the best thing almost since sliced bread. But okay, so I do streaming as well. I do streaming in houses of worship, and autofocus is good for like a broadcast type of stream, meaning that there isn't a lot of focus pulling, there aren't too many creative shots and etc. If you're focused on the speaker, you're just focused on the speaker. Autofocus 100%. Now, if I'm doing something like racking focus, where I'm pointing to the keys and I want to slowly rack focus to like his face, and then rack focus again to his fingers, or rack focus on the praise team, right, one person to the next, those type of creative shots. Autofocus is going to be too fast, and I'm gonna be pressing the screen to try to make it focus on who I want it to focus, and it might be jumpy and etc. So it takes away from the effect and feeling. And two, I like cinema lenses, bro. Like when you put a cinema lens on that thing, on the camera, I don't care what camera you have, a cinema lens just elevates it completely. I learned that there is the DJI Focus Pro, that you can technically have autofocus with a cine lens, but there's still a few caveats about it. I ordered it, but then I canceled it because the caveats were too much. They're much greater than just the autofocus feature.
All right. Yeah. I do plan to get some cinema lenses. But like I said, I'm still spoiled by my G Masters, and and it's gonna take me some time to have to, because I'm just so accustomed to just focusing on camera movement and exposure, and not having to worry so much about whether my camera is focused or not, because once again, I can depend on it. I can actually just be like, okay, I know it's in focus. nine out of 10 times, it's the way I wanted it to be, you know, in terms of racking the focus. And if I have to do it one more time to get it, then I'm willing to do that. But that's just what it comes with, you know. That's just the price you're gonna pay. You might have to repeat the shot on set if you're depending on autofocus. Even if you're using manual focus, you might have to run it again, because if not even a man is perfect when it comes to doing these things. So
Right.
at the end of the day, I think is what works best for you. I mean, on the professional level, you know, you gotta be racking. You gotta be having the focus. But if you go in and you have a crew, ain't no way you're gonna be relying on autofocus, because everybody know that, you know, timing and everything is important. So when you on that level, so and you know, you don't have time to do it over and over and over again, because these things take months to get done, you know, filming a movie and stuff like that. So you want to have it's, and like we said, it's almost like owning a automatic vehicle and a manual vehicle. If you were the kind of person that, you know, Mr. Speedy, and you want to be able to control when your car switches gears, and you also want to control every aspect of your car, then you might just want to go manually. You know, if you're the kind of person that's more laid back and just want to give gas and go, you might want an automatic vehicle. And this is what it is with these two lenses. Well, not lenses, the systems, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I started with it depends. It depends on what you're doing. Not everyone is going to be shooting movies or doing cinematic live streaming and etc. So you don't need a cinematic camera with a massive cine lens. You don't need it. I was watching a video. I mean, we can watch it right now as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So this video is about the top 5 cameras at Sundance 2024. Now, yeah.
Before you video, I just let you know again, like a slight like feedback, like I'm hearing myself.
Oh, you're hearing yourself? Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. Can the online crew hear yourself as well? Hold on, let me
Just
check.
hearing. Okay. It stopped.
It stopped.
Yes, it stopped.
Okay.
All right. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. All right, cool. So yeah. So this is top 5 documentaries at Sundance. Now Sundance is like, what is Sundance? It's probably the top thing when it comes to documentaries. If you made it at Sundance, you made it globally. Sundance is just that important for documentaries. So this guy was talking about the top 5 documentary cameras at Sundance 2024, and I found it really interesting. We're not gonna watch the whole thing because it's like 15 minutes, but we're just gonna watch a bit until he gets to like the top 5 cameras.
Got you.
When it comes to the most prestigious film festivals in the world for premiering documentaries, Sundance is probably right at the top of that list.
Audience Award for U.S. Documentary.
Jury Award for Nonfiction.
A Documentary Award for Cinematography.
A U.S. Documentary Cinematography.
Premiering your film at Sundance means it's basically one of the best documentaries in the world that year, so it's no surprise that the cinematography of these films is also world class. But when IndieWire released their report on the most popular cameras that these elite cinematographers were using, the results were definitely illuminating. So this video is all about breaking down those top 5 go-to cameras for high-end doc cinematographers according to Sundance, what these productions value in their workhorse cameras, and what does all this tell us about the best cameras to invest in ourselves. So IndieWire publishes this list every year. Sometime after Sundance wraps, they call all the DPs and ask them what cameras and lenses they shot on and why. I read the article every year because there's a lot to learn about trends in the industry and how to make smart long-term gear investments by seeing what the best of the best are doing. Like if you've been hanging around the YouTube filmmaking world for a while, you've probably heard someone say something like, the camera doesn't matter.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Yeah.
But if that's true, then why are so many of these DPs using such similar setups? If gear doesn't matter, then why are just two brands dominating the dock market? And in a time when everyone seems obsessed with waiting for the Mark II version to drop, what can we learn from the fact that only one camera in the top 5 is less than 5 years old? Now, the camera models themselves are way less interesting than what they teach us about what professional cinematographers actually need. But before we get too deep into those lessons and what they mean for your future gear investments, let's just run through this list quickly. In first place is the Sony FX9, which was used on 4 of the top 20 films. Next is the Canon C300 Mark II, yes, the Mark II, not the Mark III, with 3 films. And from there, it's the FS7, the FX3, and lastly the C500 Mark II, with all of those getting 3 films each as well, so it's really a 4-way tie for second place. That doesn't mean that these were the only cameras used, because there was, I think, 1 Red, or maybe 2, an Alexa Mini, and a Mira, and maybe a Blackmagic, I can't remember exactly. There was a decent variety across the films actually, but at least 16 of the top 20 films had one of the cameras from that list on set. They used them in different combinations with different A-cam and B-cam setups, and even some projects shooting both Canon and Sony at the same time, but the data tells us that really good dock DPs are going to those 5 cameras more than any others. But before we break down exactly what that means, let's first talk about what surprised me with this list. Now, the list itself is pretty much what I expected in a lot of ways, because after more than 10 years of shooting docks myself, I know what I'm seeing on set most of the time, and it's usually not Reds or Aris. You will see Red quite a bit in the natural history world, but the Aris only seem to pop up when the DP is mainly a narrative or commercial shooter who's come over to shoot a dock. Like if I Google the names of some of the people who used Aries on this list, like Daryl Ward, who shot Never Look Away, or Zoe White, who shot Will and Harper, their websites or IMDb's are focused mainly outside the dock world. That means that they're probably most familiar with an Arri workflow and used to having the crew around to help them run cameras like that, so when they move over to docks, it's just natural that they bring the same setups with them. But even though those cameras bring a lot to the table in terms of image quality and color science, I'll just straight up say that these cameras are not the ideal tool for run and gun shoots. Most of them aren't even really intended for single operators, and they kind of just assume that there's going to be a camera assistant nearby, which for the typical dock shoot I do, even for big networks, is a luxury rather than a norm. There are some exceptions on the list, like Peter Sillin, who shot all Arri for Love Machina, and he seems to be dock first, but generally speaking, the numbers back me up here. So what does that tell us? Well, for starters, it tells us that raw image quality isn't as important as things like ease of use for solo operators, or lightweight, or price. Docks usually don't have the same inflated budgets as commercials, and so it just doesn't make sense to use a $60,000 camera when you could save that cash and use it for travel or extra editing time. Next is the weight, because dock shooters don't normally get to hand the camera off to an AC between takes because there are no takes in the real world. And when you're running around all day, that weight really matters. A Sony FX9 weighs 4.4 pounds or 2 kilos, while an Amira is more than double that at 9 pounds or 4.1 kilos. The Alexa 35 is a little bit better, but it's still almost 50% heavier than the Sony at 6.5 pounds or something. But that doesn't even tell the full weight story, because usually with Aries, there's a lot of rigging involved to get them ready to shoot. Plus, you're probably going to be using PL mount glass, which is typically really heavy as well. So by the time it's all built up and ready to actually shoot with, odds are the Arri options, apart from maybe the Mini, will be at least double the weight. And for me, that's a massive negative. And then last,
See? Oh, let me see. What's this
when it
last
comes to
thing?
image quality, the truth is that these days it just doesn't really matter.
No, please, please don't say that.
I mean,
Yeah, so I found that very, very interesting. So
I don't know if I agree with the last statement. Image quality does. I don't care. I don't agree with that.
yeah. But it definitely depends on what you're doing. For documentaries, 100%. You need a light rig, and you don't have a second AC and etc. So, and the documentary looks much better with that more organic feel. So shaky camera and everything, it makes you feel like you're right there when the person is telling the story. So yes. How about the top 5 cameras? Were you surprised?
Yep.
Why were you surprised?
That Sony was right.
I'll say it again.
Yeah, I'm getting the feedback again. I don't know if it's coming from my end or
I thought we said we got someone here. He said, "Hey, cuz, what's up?" Let's see. Let me test.
Hey, sure. What's up, man? That's my cousin. That's my yeah. Good to see. Know you watching, man. Sure. Shout out to Sherwin Scott, man, all the way from St. Lucia. One of my favorite cousins. Oops, I hope my other cousins didn't hear that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you said you were surprised that Sony was like dominating it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought Red and all these other cameras would have been more. I mean, they were there. They made it very clear as to. Obviously, we know these are more superior cameras, but they were not like being used the most, which is like surprising to me.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't. I honestly didn't know that.
So documentary, I wasn't really surprised because with documentary work, it's
Right.
you got to think of it like a elaborate wedding. So you know how with weddings you got to chase certain things, certain events, and etc. So you don't really have time to be stopping and having time to be switching out the camera as much. So you have to get everything right. And how the same way with weddings, how you're like standing and etc. for long periods of time, it can be like that with documentary work as well. Not too much sitting down talking head interviews. I mean, yes, that plays a part, but with documentaries, you got to be in the field. Think of it like ENG type of news broadcasting type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, autofocus heavy.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, because remember that one time I told you I was downtown and it was a bunch of Sony cameras being used. And I'm like, and when you look at a lot of broadcasting work, a lot of people use Sonys, like, unless, level where you just have a bunch of Reds in there and Raptors in there, then, But generally, like, for broadcasting stuff, you're right. I just thought about it. Sony has a big name in broadcasting. I just realized that.
Massive. Like they were the top dog for a while.
Yeah, and they're creeping their way slowly into the cinema world. You realize that, right?
Yep.
And they're creeping in with the FX3, which is kind of weird, but
it's just people love that camera. It's just it can be used for weddings. It can be used for interviews. It can be used for run and gun documentaries. It's just great. Now, I know Sony won't do it, but I wish they would. If they were to come out with an FX3 Mark II with the RAW, the LT version of RAW, that's in the Venice and the Burano, man, I don't think you need any other camera. And put a what you call it, a SDI, one SDI port on there. It's over.
Right. Okay. I would appreciate that, but then again, that price gonna go up, man. That's no longer gonna be a $4,000 camera, man. We gonna be looking at close to $5,500.
50. I'm thinking more. I'm thinking probably like 7.
Well, did you say VND?
I didn't say VND, but add that in there as well.
Yeah, well, without the VND, I think you're looking at like a $5,500 camera. With that, then you're looking at close to 7,000, 10,005, and which is ranking it with the FX6. So what happens to the FX6 now?
Yeah. What can you add to the FX6 other than RAW?
That's it. And I think a lot of people would be happy with the FX6 if it gets that 60. Is it 16 stops?
Yeah.
I don't know too much about RAW. I haven't entered that world yet. But yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised to see how much 1 or 2 stops can be of a difference it could make, when you look at dynamic range. I took it for granted, but now I'm understanding the difference between black and white. It's black and white. But if you don't understand what I'm saying, the distances between the steps you would have to take from the darkest point to the brightest point, I'm having a camera that could figure out those shades in between and not just figure them out, but also represent them properly, which is what you're paying for when you hear 14 stops, 15, 16 stops. It's not just a number, guys. For those of you who are not believers in them, I urge you to try it, and you will see the difference in your video quality. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. The latitude it will allow you to edit and to pull and to push. It's a big difference, especially. And I noticed that is a lot more handy in situations where which is kind of strange, run and gun, where you don't have time to fix stuff. Like to put a light here, bounce, fix up your shadows, because RAW gives you that latitude. It allows you to push and pull a little bit better. I can speak for S-Log. S-Log is similar, but you can see, well, what saves us with the FX3 is that 10-bit. That 10-bit also makes a big difference. You'll see the colors going a little bit longer when you push and pull, like if you're going into heavy editing. But apart from that, I think that the main thing, like I said, is the dynamic range. That 14 stops to that 16 stops, you will see a major difference when you're editing. You'll feel it. You'll feel that control. You won't use it all the time, because if you're going to expose your shots and have full control over it, you'll be able to control these things. But anyway, the thing is, even having that control, even in a controlled environment, you will still see a difference in the image quality. You will still see it. It doesn't matter at this point. Honestly, I just thought about it. It really doesn't matter, because dynamic range is dynamic range. You will see the difference.
Yeah. And for those who don't really understand latitude, let's probably switch it over to photography, so people could probably understand a bit more. How good is S-Log? So, like in the photography world, there's RAW and there's JPEG. Is S-Log more in between RAW and JPEG? I know it's not like JPEG. JPEG is completely compressed, and you don't have too much headroom to edit with JPEG. So how good is S-Log?
All right. So S-Log is actually very good. I mean, I've seen you edit a RAW file, John, and what I can say to you, it's not as good as editing a RAW file. It really isn't as good. It's nowhere close to being as good. However, can you get the job done with S-Log 3? Yes, definitely. Once again, you would just have to be more careful, and a great tool to use is false color. That will help you to understand exactly where your values fall, so you can be very consistent from scene to scene if you use this tool. And I remember we spoke some time about, I was telling you, a lot of people focus on like color correction and all of these things and stuff like that to keep a consistent look in your scenes. And I learned that it's not just about color correction and white balance, but it has a lot to do with your contrast ratios. And that false color tool will help you to maintain that. For those of you who's wondering what I mean by saying contrast ratio, so it depends on the distance from the darkest point to the brightest point, which is the best way I could explain it, and the mids and where they fall and how the light falls off. That's what we refer to that. And if you have a scene that is highly it's very contrasty, and then you have one that's not, your eye would pick up on that quicker than a scene that has a different white balance. You could give the white balance a little leeway. For example, if you're trying to portray a night scene and you have a deep blue for your night, because night is usually colder, so you're not going to have a warm temperature for the night scene unless you lit by a room in a room with a lamp or something like that. But usually in the dark it's like a blue, fluorescent. If the contrast ratios match, you're not going to see a difference in the scenes. However, if they don't match and the color balance is the same, you will see a difference in the scene. You will notice and be like, hey, whoa, how many cameras did they use? Are they using the same camera? Are they matching these scenes properly? And one time it screams unprofessional, So for me, contrast ratio now becomes a big thing when I'm filming. So I use, I make sure to use my false color. And for those of you who don't know about it, look up false color. And see how you can use it to do your films. It makes a world of a difference once you understand it and you do it consistently.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, workflow, consistent, everything. Because I used to sit and wonder, like, yo, how do they film this? And every time they get the same results. It's the contrast ratio.
I'm here trying to pick up, to pull up this this image that I saw about contrast. I'm trying to switch this to the second screen for the longest time. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, even on my end, it's a little bit slow. I'm not sure today. I don't know what happened today, but something just not working on our end on this.
Yeah. All right. Let me just switch it right here. Can you see it?
Yep. We could see it.
All right. Cool. So, as you see, look at the difference between the cats. 2300 to 1 versus 10,000 to 1. It's definitely different. Like dark is dark in 2300 to 1 versus 10,000 to 1. It's not as dark.
Yes. And right away you can see the difference in the look of it.
Yes.
Like it whole different look. Like the other one looks, the more expensive one, of course, it looks like the 1,000 to 1 in my opinion, because it shows more dynamic range. However, if what you want is, what's that, 2,300 to 1?
Yeah.
Then that's the look. But you just have to maintain that in most scenes, because it will be seen.
Correct. Yeah, you can see the difference in with
There
this
you go.
lights off and lights on, how it's washed out. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely. So, hey, if you didn't take anything out from this live, take this, man. Go learn what is contrast ratios. I promise you, your films or your vlogging, whatever you do, man, it doesn't just apply only to movies. This applies in everything. If you want a consistent look, like, if you want to look like, if you watch superhero films, you notice they have a certain contrast ratio. They all have that look. What do you call them? IMAX and all of them big time producers, they have a certain look. To maintain that, they have to be on point every time. No value can be off. It got to be on.
Control.
And yeah, correct. Absolutely. So, just do what the pros say to do, man. That's what I'm saying. They say work on your contrast ratio, buddy, and you'll get it. So I'm working on it, because I want to be consistent, man. I want somebody to see something I've created and without even watching the credentials, they're like, oh, Kev made this, yo. That's something that Kev made, because you consistent and it looks the same all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's in the future? What you got? Any special projects or anything like that you're working on?
Well, I'm going to be doing some documentary work. I'm gonna try to capture that because I really want to work on my storytelling some more, and I feel like documentary could help me with that. And part of that is going to be find people that I am somewhat motivated by or feel like this person is doing something that I'm inspired by, and try to find out where their inspiration came from, and then create a story out of it. So I'm gonna be doing a few little blocks. I've reached out to some people to who I feel have a story, and try to tell their story in the best way possible, and see, what can happen, and where it could go. But for now, like, I'm looking into a lot of fitness models right now. So if you're a fitness model and you have a story to tell, hit your boy up, man. We could work something out.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, man. So TLDR, are cinema cameras worth it in 2024? I say yes. Like I said, again, like if you're just joining in at this point, like 45 minutes in, it depends. Depends on what you're doing. If you're a one-man band, if that's how you do your bread and butter, you don't think of expanding, you love being a one-man band doing running guns, a cinema camera is not for you because of everything it comes with. Yes, it has a better image, it has more dynamic range, all of that stuff. But if you're not into the heavy rig build, if you're not into cine lenses and you depend on autofocus and you like putting it on like the gimbal, like the Ronin and etc., it's a hard argument. And plus they're really expensive. It's a very hard argument. But if you are doing commercial work, narrative, if you are doing cinematic streaming and you use heavily cine lens, 100% cinema cameras are the thing. We got Jimmy Talks Tech, and he's saying absolutely they are, but it depends on the job. Yep, that's 100% what we're saying. It depends. If I'm live streaming sports every weekend, I don't want a cinema camera. I want to... Hold on. I don't want to cut off your message. Let me fix that comment real quick. I want to... let me put it back up. Boom. There you go. I don't want an Eng style camera or ENG style server zoom, etc. Okay. All right. Interesting thing that you mentioned that. NFL and a lot of sports are switching over to cinema cameras. Arri recently launched their streaming camera. Basically, it's a Alexa 35 with a streaming license, and it comes with a whole bunch of extra stuff, so you can stream with that Arri quality. Streaming is big, and these cinema companies they know that. That's why they're getting into it. Sony, things like BBC as well as ESPN, they aren't using the Sony ENGs anymore. They're actually using the Venices, like the Venice 2s and etc. So they do love the look and the latitude of a cinema camera. They just slap a swervo on there and they're good to go. Let me finish. Jimmy says something else. If I'm making a promo vid for a team, I'll shoot on a cinema camera style camera. Yep. So yeah, that's the biggest takeaway. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you're doing.
To add on to what you just said, John, also, I think a big part of it is the budget. Because let's remember, there are different aspects to video. It's not just the camera and the lens. You have audio to consider. You have lighting to consider. You have a lot more things to consider before you spend all your money into a camera. So if the budget allows you to rent one or to, you go that route. If whatever you're doing requires you to have a cinema camera, yeah, go for it. But if you can get the job done with whatever camera you have, and of course we know that audio, and I'll say it again, is a major part of any video, I would pay, and lighting, of course, they all come together to create this. I would pay attention to the budget and pay attention to what everything would cost on a whole before I spend all my money into a camera. And I one time I had someone ask me, you know, where they should start and if they should, you know, and then I gave them the same approach. I said, listen, man, if you got $3,000-4,000, it doesn't make sense to go invest $3,000-4,000 into a camera. What about the lens? What about lighting? What about the audio? What about, you know, you better off spending maybe about 2,000 of that and the other 2,000 into lighting and into audio, because then you'll realize like, man, this camera by itself does not do great work. It requires other things like, as you guys already know, if you into this, you already know that lighting is a major part also of how well the camera will work. You know, I don't care how good the FX3 is with the ISO and the performance in low lighting. If the low lighting is horrible, it's gonna be a horrible shot. You still need some kind of light to control where you're gonna place your light, or you might want to use natural lighting or whatever it is. But if it's terribly lit, whether it's low lit or highly lit, it's a bad shot. So the ISO helps, yes, but it does not create the shot. So you would want to invest your money into, you know, lights and maybe into a good mic, or, you know, start a mic just to get going and learn. Don't just take all your money and buy a camera. That's just my advice. I mean, you don't have to take it, but listen, I wish someone had told me this when I started, because I did invest most of my money into a camera, right? So whatever. Don't be dumb like me, guys. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
And once you get into audio, man, let's see, that's this guy I'm looking at right here. That's his fault, but I got into it, and yeah, I love audio, man. I never thought and knew that audio was such a big part of this thing, man. Like,
Massive.
It's a whole, it's a degree by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm back in school, guys. Congratulations, Kev.
Yo, those three things, people. Yeah. So if you're now getting into cinematography, even videography, listen to me. There are three things that are very expensive fields or areas in cinematography. The cameras, which is the camera gear and etc. The lenses, but that'll go with the camera gear. So the camera gears, lenses and all that stuff. The lighting and the audio. Those three things are specialties in their own right. Lighting, people tend to sweep under the rug. When you start getting into high budget projects and you learn about different colors and the flickering and the power of the light that you need, it can get crazy. One light can cost more than a Sony Venice 1. It definitely costs more than a V Raptor and etc. 100%. When you get to those airy sky panels and etc., and then stacking them together, that's a whole different ball game. And let's not talk about audio, because Kev is getting into audio and he's realizing that I wasn't joking when I say this is no joke, bro.
I said, look, I'm excited. Look at this. See what's on my desk, man. This is crazy. This is, oh no, man. That used to be a camera here. Now it's a mic holder. I'm just saying.
Listen,
but it's a whole different game, guys. And you know, it's either you with it or you're not with it. You can't half do it. You gotta do it all the way.
it has to be all the way. Especially audio is like 70 to 80% of your film. If your audio is bad, people won't tune in. People will forgive bad video, but they won't forgive bad audio. Audio is very important. And listen to me, when I say, even if you spend your $1,200 or whatever on your microphone, on your boom microphone, and you think, this is it, this is the only microphone I need. No. You'll learn about different voices, you'll learn about different frequencies, and you'll find out one mic doesn't fit everyone's voice. So yeah, I'll spare you a bit. And there's a difference between in the field mics and podcast mics. So you have a whole different range, a different caliber when you're starting with podcast mics. So you might be your Shure SM58, and then you go to your SM7B, your RE20, you might hit a Neumann, and then you realize this means nothing when it comes to in the field work. So you're going to have to start all over again with different microphones. And not only your microphones, your recorders, how do you get the mic signal into the recorder so you can have a good file to edit, more than likely WAV file. And then you'll realize all mic cables aren't the same. Some are really good at eliminating like if you're rubbing your power brick against your mic cable, that can pick up inside of the mic. So you have to have one that's shielded. It's a whole bunch of stuff that you'll start to learn with audio. It's no joke.
I believe. I'm a believer.
But yeah.
Hopefully, guys.
But yeah, we got some more comments from Jimmy.
Good.
He was actually, I noticed the shallow depth of field at the Super Bowl and WWE events, but they only cut to the cinematic style camera for pre-game stuff. As far as I can see, for actual in-game, it's ENG. I will push back against that. If like the recent Super Bowl, I think is with cinema camera. The thing is, they're completely switching over to cinema cameras like the Sony Venice and etc. The lens plays a big difference because streaming is a whole different thing as well. Because I'm into streaming. Streaming is a whole different animal. Streaming is not cinematography. It is not. It's a whole different animal because you're not recording in the camera. You're getting the picture, the natural image from the camera, and you're sending it to some guy that's doing the switching and etc. So the guy that you're sending it to, he can also do color correction, live color correction. So he can make that look however he wants it to look. The lenses for streaming is a whole different ballgame. I got one of them. If you think that your Arri Ultra Prime is expensive, wait till you see this lens. So this is a main lens that they usually use. Hold on, bro. I need to switch this. Hold on. Let me put this at the top. Unlock my scene. Crash course in Ecamm 101. Put this at the top so I can then switch this. I'll do it after. For right now, I'm gonna just drag this over. So you see this right here?
Yep.
This is the Fujinon 4K. This is a standard lens that a lot of them use. Do you see the price of that?
Yep. It's a house.
And imagine how many cameras they have. They probably have like 6-7 cameras, and a lot of them has this lens. So yeah, like you said, the budget, the budget plays a big part. But those guys got tons of ad money, so they can definitely afford that. So yeah, a lot of them have that lens. Even with the new Arri, the Arri is the Arri streaming, which is the Arri Live. They also built like a mount just for that lens because that lens is like very popular in the streaming world. Let's see. My man Jimmy is on a roll. We love it. I think invest in light and audio before you invest in a camera to a certain extent. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
100%. And especially with like today's cameras are so advanced, and there's a lot of good cameras for cheap. Well, when I say cheap, I mean under $5,000, and you can have really good quality. Like, you can shoot with a T3i as long as you got a good lighting and good audio. You can technically pull that off. Definitely, it could probably show on Netflix. Probably not, because Netflix, they do 4K and etc. They have their own Netflix list of cameras and etc. Tried Ecamm, didn't gel with it. Software wise for streaming, I'll use vMix or Wirecast. Kev is a Wirecast guy, but usually I stick with hardware devices for streaming. ATEM range, yes, 100%. When you're streaming, having your separate hardware encoder is a must, especially for high paying clients. Definitely, because it's just like a camera. If you have a camera that can do it all, they're gonna sacrifice at one area. You want to say something, Kev?
No.
Yeah.
I was just agreeing.
Yeah, so if you have like a device that just only does one thing, the chances is 95% of the time they're gonna do that one thing very, very well. So having I said 95% of the time because, you know, sometimes things go wonky. So yes, external hardware encoder, 100%. Jimmy says good lighting plus iPhone will look better than bad lighting and area and red ads. I disagree with that. Now we disagree. Now we disagree.
Started now. Oh my goodness. Let me read this again. Can I see it again? Let me read this again.
He says good lighting plus iPhone.
Lighting and no.
I disagree with that. I disagree with this. You choose the wrong cameras.
Oh no.
You chose the wrong, because red is actually better in darker situations and like lower light. Airy.
You know something. Sorry, John. You know something? You have to blame the media for this. Okay?
Yeah.
Because, you know, when they came out with this iPhone commercial and, you know, all these great videos, we had this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of text they have to ensure these shots look the way that they do. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You gotta be a great engineer to get that out from that, man. Trust me. And you gotta really, 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 really know your stuff, man. We ain't talking about just a quick color grade and all of that. You gotta know your stuff, man. So don't let these media stuff trick you guys. And because I'm John has one of the latest iPhones, and you know, you think you would get the phone and go outside and get these great shots. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if you use the, what they call it, the thing that's similar to log for the iPhone, was it
ProRes log or ProRes raw.
If you know what you're doing and you use ProRes raw, I believe you can come pretty close, but there's no comparison. None. I'm sorry.
I even put the iPhone against the C200 and I still got the C200 beating that.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm sorry. We love you. We love the comments. We want you to keep commenting, but I'm sorry. We can't agree on this one. Not that one. I'm sorry.
Jimmy firing still. He said, I'm not talking about the post capabilities where you can change the ISO and etc. in post, but SOOC, good lighting, plus iPhone will be better than really bad lighting and a cinema camera. I still disagree with that because I have the iPhone 15.
I'm sorry, but Jimmy's winning me over here. Jimmy, I want to agree with you. So I'm glad that me and you can agree, and then we could go against John. So you're kind of pulling me on your side because I'm first a photographer, and I've owned photography cameras that cost like $8,000-9,000. I have had them before, and I've also had photography cameras that cost $1,600-1,400. And a shot in RAW that was taken with great lighting will always look better. Sorry, a shot in a JPEG format that was taken with great lighting versus a shot in RAW that was taken with bad lighting, the JPEG shot will always be 10 times better because it has a better start. Now, even though, remember, just like in RAW, there's a certain amount of stops that the camera will give you for. So if you push it, John, and I'm saying bad lighting, you push that thing where the lighting is hideous, you will always get a better looking image with the iPhone. I'm sorry, but if you want to look at, because we know, I don't think he's saying that for pixels. I'm saying how the image look. That's what I think he's talking about.
He's talking about
So,
straight
for
out the
example-
camera.
Huh?
Yeah, he's talking
So
about
let me
straight
give
out
you
the
an
camera.
Let me give you an example. So let's say I was streaming like this. All right. And, you came and you shot this RAW, right? And we came with an iPhone, and this was the lighting, right? There is no way you could take that RAW shot and beat the shot. No way. No way.
I get what you're saying. I disagree though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, you know, because what, bro? Look at it. Look at it. You think you're gonna bring up them shadows and maintain that background?
No. Because his argument isn't posts. Because he knows posts you can do a whole bunch with RAW. He's talking about straight out of camera. Like if you make a video with an iPhone with good lighting, straight out of camera, it's gonna look better than a cinema camera with bad lighting, straight out of camera.
Right, that's what he's saying. So
That's what he's saying.
Bad light, meaning you didn't light the subject properly.
Correct.
Meaning exactly what I just showed you. Correct.
But I disagree.
Right. So you think that? Oh wow.
I disagree.
Explain yourself.
Because the thing about the iPhone, and I have an iPhone. I have the iPhone 15 Pro with ProRes log, and when I'm shooting from the iPhone, the image is great, straight out of camera. Wonderful. I do Instagram with the iPhone. I don't have to do color correction or anything like that. It's beautiful. The thing about the iPhone is heavily dependent on computer algorithms. Heavy. When it comes to color, exposure, all of that stuff. Because a small little tiny sensor is still a small little tiny sensor at the end of the day. Now, if I get my C200, I'm not even going to go to the red. I'm going to go to the C200 and I put a Cine lens on there, even with bad lighting, I'm still going to get a better image than the iPhone. Still going to get a better image.
Wait, okay, let's talk bad lighting. What do you mean by bad lighting?
Say I go outside at noon with the sun. I can't control the sunlight. I can't control anything. It's harsh. There's no trees, no shadows. It's hitting.
Okay, Jimmy, you might be losing me. I need you to clarify this. No, because I'm Jimmy, please. Man, so I want you to clarify this because I am understanding that we cannot
We need to get Jimmy on the show. We need to.
Yeah, Jimmy, you need to bring yourself and explain yourself, man. I'm trying to win with you, but you're not explaining yourself fast enough, and you're making me look bad. And I don't like bad, Jimmy. You better speak. What are you saying, man? Because I know when it comes to taking pictures, it don't matter what camera you use. If the lighting is bad, you lost your image. You lost it. I don't care if you shot it in RAW. If the lighting is bad, John, you lost it. I'm sorry. You don't have it no more. If your lighting is bad.
Yeah, I agree with, because if you got really, really bad lighting on an iPhone, like if you're doing something at nighttime with an iPhone, it can look really crazy as well. But I'm talking about bad lighting. Bad lighting doesn't mean no lighting. Bad lighting just means bad lighting.
Character limit too small for me to elaborate. Oh.
Yeah, we need to get him on the show so he can talk.
Do you have a setup with to be able to come on the show? We'd be glad to have you, man, because you seem to have a lot to say, and we don't want you to hear the example of your setup.
The example is
So Jimmy, you're winning me again. And John, I absolutely believe that if I give you, like, we can do a test, man, the strength of your camera. If I give you a raw shot, you take a raw shot like this. I'm giving the example again, just because I know if I give you a raw shot like this, and I'm talking, and I'm not telling you to get me looking in a silhouette form like that. I need to see me. I need to see, because I'm the subject, right? And we take the iPhone and we shoot something like this. I need that raw image to look better than this. And you're telling me it will.
I believe that. Yeah. iPhone with no iPhone. You guys are like, I'm an iPhone guy, and you guys are putting the iPhone at a crazy high pedestal.
Look, John, my understanding, bro, is that lighting will make and break your image.
Correct.
We know that.
Yes.
I have my FX3 for a minute now, and I've done test shots, and then I come back, I'm like, wow, this looks sick, and I'm like, yo, I figured it out. Born in situations where there's absolutely bad lighting, and I cannot get what I got from before. It doesn't matter what I did. And I know that's S-Log, it's not raw, but it's close enough to be able to manipulate it a little bit. Like, I know for a fact that on my FX3, in that kind of lighting, I ain't getting nothing back, bro. I'll get it back, but you're not gonna see the purple in the back. You're not gonna see the TV with the little lounge. You're not gonna my face is gonna start looking weird. It's not gonna be smooth, and the highlight roll off is not gonna be the same. And 16 stops can do so much to pull back up these shadows. And guess what? We know that these high cinema cameras do not do very well in high ISOs. So then what would you, and once you start raising it, it's gonna fall apart.
The lens is a whole different animal.
All right, so here's the thing too, and I learned that, and maybe Jimmy, you might want to say something on that too, right? Remember, when you're overexposed. So for example, right, as we can see, and I'll show the illustration again, just because I know Jimmy like when I turn the lights off. When I turn the lights off, obviously the background itself is not as underexposed, right? In the raw image, what you would have to do is you would have to start bringing it up from the shadows, right? How much from the shadows can you actually pull up before you start adjusting the overall exposure? And then once you start adjusting the overall exposure, how much can the highlight stay?
No, you're going too far. Jimmy isn't talking about post work at all. He's talking about straight out of camera. There's no post production.
I'm confused, because here's the thing. Then that argument doesn't really make sense, because at the end of the day, we're looking at a finished product, and anytime you're shooting raw and you're shooting in ProRes, is because you have the intention to go and make it look better.
Right.
Now, what you're saying is that you just take it straight out of the phone and he takes it straight out of the camera. In my opinion, you're just gonna have a bad lit, good looking shot versus a great, okay looking shot.
I still think the cinema camera is gonna look better. I'm gonna try it though. I'm gonna try it just.
And you know why? You remember that video we watched on the last live we did where the guy matched the cameras
Yes.
in controlled environment? He took the FX3 and the reds, and it was very difficult for us to tell the difference. You know, it applies in that situation because the lighting conditions were all the same. And so living proof that light can do it all. light can make your camera go from looking very cheap to very expensive very fast.
Yeah. Even with RAW, if you don't lose light, shape the light, create depth, and etc., the cinema camera won't look as good.
I agree.
I agree with to a certain extent.
No, he's not talking about. He's not referring to image quality like pixels. I don't think that's
No, he's not talking about that.
It's overrated. No, let me not say that. I take that back. It has its purpose. However, what I think he's trying to say is that you know, there are rules when shooting to get an image to look cinematic, and both of us follow it. I mean, you know, we understand the uses of shadows, the midtones, and the highlights, and where the light falls. For example, I don't know how to. Let me see. Example: this same shot, if I had to turn off this light, you see a difference. Like, this is terrible. Well, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
I lost an eye.
Yeah.
I lost an eye. You see? And then I turn on my fill, and then it's here a little again. Like, you could see it again.
Yeah.
You know? And it turn off the main, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So lighting really does it. I think if that's what you're saying, Jimmy, I'm back with you. But if you're saying in post-production, if you're saying straight out the camera, the pixel wise, no, you lost me. But in terms of
both of us agree. Both of us agree with Jimmy with lighting is everything. When it comes to the image and etc., lighting is very key, 100%. I just disagree that the iPhone will look better in bad lighting. I mean, iPhone with, well, his argument actually was an iPhone in good lighting.
Just said that is shading my eyes, so let me put my eyes out, Jimmy.
His argument actually was the iPhone with good lighting is gonna look better than a cinema camera with bad lighting. So it's not about no light. So the iPhone with a well-lit, look at Apple's keynote. They use iPhone and they use like these crazy airy sky panels and etc. to shape the subject and etc. That versus probably like a ring light or going outside in the sunlight and shooting with the Arri Alexa and Alexa Prime lens. I still think that the cinema camera is going to look better when it comes to latitude and etc. than the iPhone, because in some of those shots, if you look at the Apple's keynote, there's a lot of blotchiness in the shadows. So that's where I agree. But I do agree that lighting is 100% the maker or breaker.
Jimmy just said that he's not talking about the pixels. So Jimmy, if you're not talking about the pixels, I think I'm back on John's side. Because I think that's where we would win the fight. Because once you start trying to do something to that image, you're gonna lose it. Especially if it's terribly lit. And we're talking about terribly lit, like the example like I just gave, if I turn my lights on and off, like, you know, trying to recover those shadows. But if you're thinking, okay, we want the shot looking like that and it's a silhouette, then fine. The iPhone not gonna touch these cameras.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said the phone, nice 3-point lighting. So yes, Ari just say for better.
Bro, what lens are you using? See, we could go back and forth with this all day because I just came from a gig that I was doing, and I had no lights. All they were using was the fluorescent lights and the small little lights that you twirl in the ceiling, and I was using the C200 and a Sigma Cine lens, and that looked better than any iPhone shot. So depends on your lens. It depends on your lens. Because like I said, iPhone is using a small little sensor, and the sensor of the C200 is way bigger, and that Cine lens is going to let in way more light. So
Yeah, and it's gonna be. Listen, man. Sorry, I don't want to say anything I'm gonna get in trouble for. But all I could say, Jimmy, I think you need to speak for yourself. You got me speaking for you. So when would you like to come and speak for yourself? Wait a minute. First of all, Jimmy, where are you based? Where are you based?
yeah, where are you, Jimmy? It's going to be a delay, so we're going to wait. So he said, that's interesting. At the comment, I said, yeah, bro, I have an iPhone. Like, cinematic mode is amazing. Cinematic, but remember, it's all algorithm. So even around the edges a bit, there's still a little fuzziness and stuff because it's the algorithm trying to digitally separate the foreground from the background.
Scotland in the house, man. Welcome, Jimmy.
Yes,
Welcome.
sir. Welcome.
Let's see. Welcome. We have Scotland in the house, guys. All right. Welcome, Jimmy. We appreciate you. Oh, what was going on here? Okay, there we go. Sorry, Jimmy. I just wanted to give you a round of applause. Hold on, because we're so happy that you're here today. Yep. Welcome, Jimmy. Welcome. And Jimmy, I just wanted to let you know that a lot of the points that you made, we appreciate it. The thing is, I just hope that you know that everybody has their own opinion on stuff like this. And like I said before, we would be more than happy to have you on this channel to just share your opinion.
100%.
All right. So, that's the Roadcaster. You're right. Dang, I just sold myself out. It's all right. I'm guessing you have one too, right, Jimmy? I'm just guessing that you own one too. And geez, he even guessed the version 2. Jimmy, what is you?
I mean,
you're working for something, man. Let us know what's up.
I mean, his name is Jimmy Talks Tech, so he knows his stuff. It's all good, lads.
We appreciate you, man. And remember, send any one of us a message, man. Like I told you, we'd be happy to have you, join us for a little,
For episode, definitely.
Corner, a little lounge talk. You know what I'm saying? You sound like you might, you sound like you know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, and we always open to hearing other views.
And it seems like your audio would be pretty good as well because you have the Rodecaster. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Stop playing with us, Jimmy. All right. So
yeah.
I think we could kind of wrap it up. What do you think, John?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, it was a good episode. We even had a small little Q&A for like 25 minutes, so that was dope. You got any final things to say, Kev?
Yeah, it was so good my hat came off, That's how good it was, man. I actually, like I said earlier, I missed doing it, and I just hope that we could at least do one once a week once again. And if I guess someone requests that we talk about something that we could find the time to get it done. But guys, the intention here is to do this as often as we can. So just keep an eye out for us, and we'll try to make it more consistent that we could have talks like these again. And once again, shout out to Jimmy from Scotland. Man, I'm so happy that we had someone all the way from Scotland joining in our live. And by the way, Jimmy, we're based in the US, if you didn't already know. And we appreciate you once again, man. So thanks everyone for whoever. And shout out to my cousin again, Sherwin, man. Shout out to you and your whole little beautiful family, man. Thank you for just stopping by and leaving a comment. We appreciate that too. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, thank you again for joining. As Jimmy put it in the comments, yes, cinema camera is valid in 2024. It highly depends on what you're doing. That key word is depends. So don't go scoffing at other people that have like the Arri Alexa that you see out in the wild, or the Red, and a $10,000 lens. You know, they have those particular gear. They have that particular gear for a specific reason. Your reason might not be their reason, so just relax. So yeah, so we'll catch you guys in the next Cinematographer's Corner. Hopefully it won't be another 2 weeks from now or a month. Hopefully it's more consistent, and yeah, we'll come back with more topics and more cinematic stuff, because there's a lot of things, like the new Canon came out, the Canon C400, as well as the R5 Mark II came out. I know Sony is going to come out with something new in their cinema line, so yeah, we will definitely be on here talking about that. But other than that, just enjoy life. Just don't stress. Take one day at a time, and we're going to catch you guys in the next Cinematographer's Corner podcast. Peace.
Yes, sir.